So last month I made $156,000 in cash collected in my info consulting coaching business, and I did it with 150 subscribers on this channel and cold email. I have no Instagram presence, we ran no ads, and honestly no one really knows who I am. And the reason I'm making this video is to, one, show you that you don't need a massive audience in order to make money online teaching what you know. Although obviously it does help, you can still make a lot of money with a small audience. Two, that monetizing your knowledge, teaching a passion, skill, or expertise that you have is the easiest and best way to make money online in 2025 as a creator or an expert. And three, how I did it. Because the reason I'm able to do this is because as a company, we've mastered the ability to build the know, like, and trust elements needed to have someone actually buy from you very, very fast. So in this video, I'll be showing you 3 core things we do a little different to everyone else that allow us to make the money that we do without needing to use traditional methods to get attention. So the first core point is what I like to call context hijacking. And it's essentially that you cannot engineer demand. All you can do is tap into it. So what this looks like, and I think this is a really good story to kind of illustrate this, is one that Hormozi uses a lot. And it's that if you were to start a business and you were to pick one characteristic that your market has, what would it be? So let's say you were to open a hot dog stand. Would it be that you had the best hot dog, the best looking stand, you knew how to hire the best people to create hot dogs? Like, what would you actually pick? And it's like every single time the answer is you have a location where you have starving people around it, people who are really hungry, maybe, you know, outside a club at 3 a.m. And because that is ultimately the number one thing that allows you to be successful as a business, because no one, if they're starving, no one really cares about whether the hot dog is the best in the world or how many they're getting or even how long it takes, because they simply want a hot dog. Now, the point of that story is that demand and having higher demand than supply is the number one thing that you want to do when starting a business. One thing that really helped us when we started this business is that we didn't try to create some sort of thing that people didn't want. We simply tapped into something that people already wanted. There's a lot of people who want to start info businesses, who want to sell their knowledge online, and who want to be able to make money online. And all we did was tap into that and position ourselves in the middle of that and have an effective solution to help people achieve what they want within that. And this just makes honestly everything easier, because all you have to do is articulate the pain points and the issues and the problems that those people are facing better than they can themselves, and they will entrust you to solve those pain points for them. But again, you can't create those. They have to already have them, and all you do is articulate and explain those pain points to them better than they can themselves, and they will trust you to then get them out of that situation. Ultimately, people buy when they feel understood, not when they understand. All they care is that you solve their problem, not how many followers you have, how you got to them. They just care like, okay, this person can get me from where I am to where I want to be. Do not just go randomly pick a market, but when you are setting up your business, pick a market that actually needs your solution and is a starving market. Now, the second thing that allowed us to have this success without having a massive audience or spending a bunch on ads is what I call asymmetric proof. And it's essentially that you don't need a bunch of proof and 400 testimonials or, you know, thousands of reviews or anything like that to actually get someone to trust you. All you need is very specific and strong points of proof. So when we started, we probably had between 8 to 12 actual testimonial videos. So these are interviews that I did with creators. However, they were with creators that had between 10,000 to 1 million subscribers. And so when people watch that, and they also weren't just, you know, surface level interviews, they were in-depth interviews where we went through exactly where they were before they joined us, what the transformation was after they joined us, what we did together, and what they felt after going through the process. And that, combined with the fact that you could click on their channel and actually see the results and see their channel thriving and see them making the money that they wanted to make and that they were talking about making on the interview, was incredibly powerful. So we didn't need 100 interviews. With just 8 to 12 targeted ones where you could actually click and see their channel, it got people's trust to a point where they were ready to actually hand over money and buy from us. And that's what I call asymmetric proof. It's not about having as many proof points as possible. It's about having very specific ones that are strong and easy to trust. And that's exactly what we had. So the key here is don't focus on just getting general proof and as many testimonials as possible. That's what a lot of people do. Focus on making sure that it's very specific testimonials, so the exact people that you actually want to be helping, not adjacent niches or anything like that, but as similar to the avatars that you're going to be speaking to on sales calls as possible, so that people can actually relate to the testimonials. And B, ensure that they are easy to trust. If you can link people's socials, if you can put as much information as possible, name, age, again, their social handles is best so people can see that they're real people. That's incredibly strong. And with that, all you need is between 8 to 12, I would say probably. And you can get people actually paying you high ticket over the phone without ever knowing you before if they're able to actually see that. And it worked incredibly well for us. And that was a big limiting belief I had, that, you know, we wouldn't be able to sell this because we needed at least 50 interviews, or at the very least we needed 10,000 followers or whatever that might be. You don't need that. Again, if you have that starving market, which I spoke about in the first point, and then you have very specific proof, all you need is probably 8 to 12 interviews to actually get people to trust you. Which brings us to the third point, which is precise personalization. It's actually 2 points in one, because the second one is that you want to end up using your biggest negative and turn that into a positive. And let me show you how both of them tie together. So one of our biggest negatives, I would say, is that, again, we didn't have thousands or tens of thousands of followers for this specific business. We weren't spending a bunch on ads, right? We just have, a small channel with 150 subscribers, and we have the cold email campaigns that we were using. But we used that and turned it into our biggest advantage. What we would tell people on sales calls, and again, this was true, and that we would go through in the entire sales process and iterate, is that we're not looking to just sign anyone and just like pump a bunch of money into ads and get as many people in as possible, or create a massive personal brand and just get everyone's money. We're targeting specific people that we feel we can actually help and know that we can take them from point A, where they're at right now, to point B, where they want to be. And that helped people trust us that we could actually get them where they wanted to be, because it felt like it was personalized, like we were targeting them. And we implemented this throughout the entire funnel. So from the very beginning, for example, on the cold email campaigns, we created personalized looms targeting specific people who we felt could actually help. And we made the looms personalized. We made the email copy personalized. After they booked in calls, we had one of our setters actually send them a personalized video saying, hey, I just noticed you booked the call, real excited to speak to you, we're auditing your channel. Made every single step of the process very personalized. When we hopped on the call, the sales reps had already had a look at their channel. They were familiar with the niche that they were in, how long they'd been posting, potentially what their problems were based on the form that they filled out. So again, every single step was personalized, and we took that negative, which is, oh, you don't have tens of thousands of followers and 500 testimonials and weren't spending a bunch of money on ads, and we turned that into an advantage, showing how actually we're personally picking the people that we want to work with. And that made people feel more special, made it feel like it was a personalized solution for them, and ultimately allowed them to want to buy more. And we did this for every part of the process. Even the pitch, the way that the sales reps pitched, we trained actually making it feel like a white glove solution specifically made on the spot for the prospect on the call, so that again, they didn't feel like they were just buying a general program, but they were buying the specific solution that they needed to get where they wanted to go. And this, again, combined with us tapping into a starving market and having specific proof of creators who started out where most of the prospects are right now, and in the videos talked about how they actually achieved the dream outcome that the prospects want to achieve, all of that together formed a really powerful sales and marketing message that allowed us to actually hit the 150K cash. So the main thing to take away from this principle is not only that you can personalize every step of the sales process and things like that, but also that framing and positioning is everything. You don't have to have the negatives of the business actually be negatives, and you can flip them and turn them into a positive. For example, let's say you have no testimonials, you don't even have 8 to 12. Don't just frame that as a negative. On the sales call, talk about, hey, we don't have a lot of clients that we've worked with, and that's why I have to make this work for you. When you join, like, I will move heaven and earth and mountains and whatever it is to get you where you want to be, because I need this to work for this business to take off. When we first started and we were working with clients one-on-one and we didn't have a bunch of testimonials, we maybe had like 4, that's what the positioning that I would use on sales calls. I would take that disadvantage of not having a bunch of testimonials and not having worked with a bunch of clients and flip it into a positive, talking about that was the exact reason this had to work, because I would personally ensure that they would get where they wanted to be, because otherwise this business wouldn't thrive. If I didn't get a testimonial from them, I wouldn't be able to grow the business and finally grow to the heights that I wanted. And that again turned it into an advantage, and people felt, well, okay, like this guy has a lot of conviction. So that's the third point there. And I think these 3 points here are kind of unique, special things that we do a little bit different to other people that have ultimately allowed us to hit 150K cash and consistently do over 100K a month without, having a massive audience and without going viral and without spending a bunch on ads. So if that was helpful, like and subscribe. If it wasn't helpful, hit the dislike button, although I think YouTube's removed that feature. Either way, I will see you on the next one.